Okay, and so lastly, I said I was going to cover some business and management books. The first thing I'd like to talk about is Vannevar Bush, As We May Think. You can read this for free. It's an old Atlantic article published in June 1945, and it's all about a machine that was going to be the knowledge workers machine called Memex. Memex never happened, but we have now the internet, we have computers, and so there's a lot of things about knowledge workers, management of knowledge, and things that I found really interesting about this, and I've read other things by Vannevar Bush, but in conjunction with that, he wrote a book called Science is Not Enough. And in here is a letter he wrote called The Art of Management. I purchased this book for, I think it was $45. It's pretty hard to find. Any content on The Art of Management by Vannevar Bush is hard to find. But it's well worth it to buy this if... Let me read you the opening paragraph. All my life, which has now lasted something under 100 years, I have observed managers in action, in government, in universities, and in industry, and I have puzzled over what made them tick. I am far from the end of the puzzle, for no man can ever fully understand another, even a close friend. But we can probe a bit towards the essence of the good, the great manager's success. The world is so short on good managers that it is certainly worth a try. And there are different managers that Vannevar talks about and encountering, and actually there's one point in here around how when you have an employee who let's see if I can remember this correctly. When you have, it's not the Peter principle, but it's like when you have an employee who is struggling in a certain place in the company, that they may do well somewhere else. And for the time this is written, I mean, I still feel like we're dealing with that now in 2016, of realizing that an employee who maybe did receive a promotion into a new role and hasn't been doing very well might need to be moved into somewhere else, or that skills between things need to be transferred. And he talks about that in here. That wasn't the point I wanted to focus on. What I wanted to do was talk about one of the real takeaways I took from reading this was that he talked about kind of, well, let me read it. He's talking about someone else. He told me, for example, that a battle with an individual was inevitable. To keep my shirt on under provocation, so that I could have the battle on the ground and at the time of my own choosing. I thought that's pretty good. I mean, when one is provoked to be drawn out into a conversation or friction around an idea, that maybe it is smart to keep your shirt on, to keep a cool head, to relax, and then find the time when you want to actually have that conversation occur. So there's a lot of things in here like that. There's actually quite a bit to this. He says the most corrosive element in human relations is a sense of injustice, and that a good boss never holds a grudge. There's just a lot of really rich stuff in here. So it's called Science is Not Enough, and that's the only place you'll be able to find that. The other two books I am still reading. I am almost finished with this one, which is Business Secrets of the Trappist Monks. This is by August Torak. It is really about how in business you want to be selfless in your service to your customers. And this is in relation to the monks at Mepkin Abbey, who for a long time had an egg farm, and then PETA got involved and they abandoned the egg farming even though they weren't, by their admission, they weren't doing anything to harm the chickens, but they abandoned the egg farming and now they grow mushrooms. There's just a lot of stuff in here, even without that, that's very interesting. And, questions around what is the business of business? And it seems like our modern technology answer is, well, we want, the business is to create profit, it's to satiate VC funders, it's to keep stakeholders engaged, but that's not really why you're in business. And most people are not going into business to sell out their company. I mean, it's like, I have seen, like, it's a terrible strategy. Oh, I'm building this to eventually try to sell it off. It's like, okay, so you just want to sell out the business that you're in. Not a good sign. And so I've gotten a lot out of this book. It's really in line with my own values, so it's more a book for me that just keeps kind of reminding me that I am on the right path with my career and what I'm trying to do. The last one is Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. This is more of a pamphlet. It's very, very dense with material, and I could sit down and easily just read this in probably an hour, but I've chosen to read and reread portions and kind of read it slowly, and I think I'm getting quite a bit out of that. Like, here's my current page marker, but I have notes pages ahead in the book, and there's just a lot about values. What kind of person do you want to see in the mirror, and what's the measure of your success? And are you a listener? Are you a talker? I'm a little bit of both. I mean, talking, I'm a bit of a talker, to hear the ideas, to hear me say the ideas. And, he talks about the relationship between the leader and the advisor, because one may be the talker and one may be the listener, and how both need one another to ensure that they're successful. And that's just a great metaphor. It's like, because I often see myself more as an advisory role. I really don't want to be making a lot of large decisions, but I like being a part of the decision-making process, being a springboard for helping people uncover what they think the decision should be. Maybe one day I'll want to be making the decisions, but right now I do like that advisory role. And so Peter talks about that in the book, and it's cheap. You can get that book for like $5. So anyway, just a couple of things that I'm also reading. So that's kind of my stack so far in 2016. I'm sure there'll be more to come. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.